Hey guys, I'm Crystal and I am back with part 5, which is going to be the final part of Trooper Proctor's text messages and cross examination with my discussion as to why I believe this case is bigger than just Karen Reed now. This case is now about the integrity of our judicial system. If you haven't yet, be sure to go back and check out parts 1 through 4. So let's get started and finish this up.
Trooper Proctor, after you knew that Canton Police Department was conflicted off the case, you continued to have a very close relationship with yet another Albert, Kevin Albert, correct?
We worked on a cold case together.
So you did have a close personal and professional relationship with Kevin Albert, didn't you?
I'd say it was a professional relationship.
Only a professional relationship?
Him and I were members at a gym together, and we worked a cold case together for several months.
Drinking, socializing, maybe?
Once in a while.
Right. So it went beyond professional, right?
Yeah, acquaintances.
Drinking acquaintances, right?
On several occasions, yes.
Socializing acquaintances, right?
On several occasions.
So when you told the jury a few minutes ago that you were aware of and knew of but didn't have relationships with 3 Alberts, Julie, Chris, and Colin, not quite true, is it?
Objection.
Sustained.
See, that's the other thing. He makes things so much worse for himself in this questioning. Like right there, he states it was a professional relationship when he knows. I mean, I'm sorry, if you've been out drinking several times with somebody, it's more than just a professional relationship. He is just making himself look worse. And it's not just him. Several of them have done that. A lot of the witnesses have done that, when if they would just answer the question, it might not look so bad, but they make it look worse that they're trying to hide something. And so they have not done themselves any favors. Now, I can't say how the jury is viewing all this, but it would surprise me if they're not viewing it the same way, because it's not a good look. Just answer the question.
4th Albert out there, isn't there? Yeah. Right?
Yes.
But you didn't tell us about that one,
Objection.
I'll allow it.
correct?
I don't consider that a relationship. It's
Well, let's look at that. 5 months into this investigation, in July of 2022, you were actually continuing to socialize with Kevin Albert, weren't you?
yes.
On July 19th, 2022, you and Kevin Albert went out drinking together, didn't you? Trooper Proctor, I'm not asking you to look for anything in the binder at this point. I'm asking for your memory.
I don't recall that.
You don't recall the date, or you don't recall,
July 19th, 2022.
you don't recall the drinking?
The date itself, sir.
Why don't we turn to tab 13?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a number or a letter?
We're still in tab 13. We're still in tab 13.
All right, so what page, Mr. Jackson?
Page 2602. May I?
Yes.
Thank you. Trooper Proctor, are you on 2602?
I am.
The fact of the matter, does that refresh your recollection that on July 19th, 2022, you and Kevin Albert have been out drinking together?
It does.
In fact, the two of you got so drunk that Kevin Albert left his badge in your cruiser and couldn't find his gun the next morning, right?
Objection.
Overruled.
I can't speak to any level of intoxication, but I don't recall either of us being intoxicated.
Got it. So isn't it true that on 7/20, July 20th, 2022, the day after, at 8:39 in the morning, you texted Kevin Albert, quote, "Found your badge in my cruiser this morning," end quote, correct?
Yes.
Then you texted him, "I can leave it in my locker at the gym, drop it off at your station, or leave it in my mailbox," correct?
Correct.
Kevin Albert responds, "My mailbox. Did I take my gun?" And then included a wince face emoji, correct?
Correct.
So the fact of the matter is, you two got so drunk that he couldn't find his badge and had to ask you the next morning where his gun was, right?
Again, I can't speak to any level of intoxication, whether he just forgot it. I don't
I'm
know.
not asking you about his BAC, Trooper Proctor. I'm asking, have you seen drunk people before?
Yes.
You've been drunk before.
Yes, I have, sir.
We've all been drunk before, right?
Yes.
Was he drunk? Were you drunk that night?
I don't recall. It was a long time ago.
But he left his badge in your cruiser after a night of drinking. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Which means you were drinking and driving in your cruiser. Right?
From what I remember, we were down the Cape working on the cold case together and stopped for dinner, had a few beers, and then dropped him off.
That was a yes.
The next morning, Kevin Albert also texted you at page 2606. Starting with "It's bad." Tell me when you see that.
Okay, see it.
All right, may I publish?
Yes.
2606. Kevin Albert responded, "It's bad!" Exclamation point, exclamation point. "I was hungover for sure today! Exclamation point, exclamation point. Couple tonight to make me feel good." End quote. Correct?
Correct.
You can take that down. Does that refresh your recollection that the two of you had been out drinking the night before? He got so drunk that he couldn't find his badge and couldn't even find his gun.
Yes, it does refresh my memory.
Right. And you're in your cruiser. Right?
Yes, sir.
And this is with Brian Albert's brother, with the Proctor.
Correct.
I'm going to change gears. Trooper Proctor, you personally collected John O'Keefe's clothes from the hospital at Good Sam in Brockton, did you not?
I did.
I'd like to. At the time you were at Good Sam, you actually had the opportunity, you had the occasion to see Mr. O'Keefe in the hospital, correct?
Yes.
You also had the occasion to see his clothing in the hospital, correct?
Yes.
That's the clothing that you ultimately gathered, is that right?
Correct.
May I approach you on that?
Yes.
You can take a look at that.
Mhm.
Tell me if you recognize it.
I do.
That photograph of you. I'm sorry, it's not of you, but do you see your legs in that photograph?
Yes,
Okay, and you also see the legs of Mr. O'Keefe on the hospital gurney, correct?
I do.
And you see a pile of clothes there?
Correct.
All right, I can have this marked and omitted.
Objection?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Exhibit 568.
568?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You ready? May I inquire?
Yes.
Thank you. Request the court's permission to publish.
Okay.
Do you see this? Do you see the photograph in front of you? Is that the same photograph that's been published up on the television screen?
Yes, sir.
Directing your attention to the leftmost portion of the photograph, you see the clothes. First, the clothes on the ground.
I do. Yes.
Okay, that appears to be what? What items or articles of clothing do you see?
The T-shirt, possibly the jeans.
Gray shirt as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, and those are your legs to the uppermost part of the screen, correct?
I believe.
In the blue pants.
Yes,
And you see to the leftmost portion of the screen, chair.
I do.
See what's on that chair?
My binder.
That's your portfolio.
It is.
Okay, that's something that you carry routinely as you're investigating during the course of your investigations.
Yes.
You keep your notes and things of that nature.
Yes.
Pen, paper.
Correct.
All right. We can take that down. You indicated that you took possession of those clothing items from Good Samaritan Hospital, correct?
Correct.
You bagged them? Bagged, B-A-G-G-E-D, bagged them?
Yes.
And then what did you do with them after that?
We secured them in Sergeant Buchanan's pickup truck.
And then what happened to them after they were secured in this pickup truck?
We traveled to Dighton to Mr. Reed's house.
Once you ultimately got back, I don't want to have to take you through the entire, everybody knows where you went.
Okay.
Sergeant Buchanan started to testify. You get back to Canton at some point, correct?
Yes.
Ultimately, were the clothes transported into the your facility
Yes.
at the DA's office?
Correct.
Okay. What did you do with them after that?
We brought them to the evidence
I'm
processing
going to
area.
ask you what you did, not what we did, what you did.
Sergeant Buchanan and I brought them to the evidence processing area, laid out butcher paper so the clothes could dry, put them on there in that area. And then I brought 2 cell phones to Trooper Garino so we could try to attempt to extract the phones.
What did you do with the clothing after it was dried out?
So the next day, Trooper DeChico arrived and brought them into the permanent evidence area where only him and another trooper in my office have access to. So they were secured from that at that point.
So you didn't book them into evidence?
I did not know.
When they're booked into evidence, there's supposed to be a log of that, correct?
I'm sorry?
There's supposed to be a log of that when they're booked into evidence, correct?
Yes.
You're the case officer on the case. One of your responsibilities is to make sure that chain of custody is maintained throughout the entirety of the investigation, all the way up to a courtroom, correct?
Yes.
Where's the log of those items being booked into evidence?
There was a chain of custody from when they entered the DA's office, and then when Trooper DeChico created a label for them, but also put them in a secure facility.
Can you show me where that is?
I'm not the evidence office. I don't have that.
I see. So you didn't bring a log with you of any sort concerning the chain of custody of these items, correct?
No.
As a matter of fact, the reason you didn't bring that chain of custody log is because none exists. Isn't that right?
Objection.
Sustained, ask it differently.
Does a physical log exist starting from January 29th, 2022 to today?
Yes.
Where's that physical log, sir?
I'm not an evidence officer, so I don't know how that. Yeah. So I don't know how that's generated.
Right. So as a case officer, you have no idea where an evidence log is that has something as insignificant as, I don't know, the victim's clothing.
Objection.
Sustained.
How does he not know where the evidence log is? If he needs to go look at evidence and check something out, shouldn't he know where the log is and the procedure to do that? You know, the signing in and out, all of that. I don't understand this case. I don't understand how they think all of this is okay, because it's not. It's not okay anywhere. You have to have chain of custody. Otherwise, we don't know who else touched that evidence. That is the whole point of the evidence log, to ensure evidence is not tampered with, to be able to see the last person that was with evidence, to see who all checked it in or out, all of that. And we've heard from enough witnesses now to know there is no evidence log. Putting it in your report, documenting it in a report is not an evidence log. It's not. These are my issues with this case. Now, there's a lot of other things that bring suspicion into another direction, but just trying to stick to the Karen Reed case, which has been really hard to do, because a lot of this trial, I was asking myself, damn, is this even about Karen Reed? So trying to focus on just the Karen Reed side of it, not all the other conspiracy stuff, which I completely understand why people go there. They made it very easy to go there. But trying to tune out all of that, I still can't get past certain things, which is why I can't go with guilt. I just can't. And this evidence log, the chain of custody, is a big one for me. That is a big thing in any case. It's infuriating. And what makes it even more infuriating is the fact that they act like it is no big deal. It was documented in the report, okay? That it was documented in the report is not your chain of custody log.
The fact of the matter is, the evidence log attendant to this case regarding those clothing items starts on March 14th when they were taken to the crime lab, correct?
That's when the clothing was transported to the lab.
And that's the only log we have of what happened to those clothes between January 29th and today.
Objection.
Overruled. Do you know that?
I don't. I'm not off the top of my head, ma'am.
So that's a lot of days in between that there is no documentation to where this evidence is, who had access to it, who came and went with it, when it was logged in, when it was locked up, if it was ever locked up. There's none of that. That alone is reasonable doubt. That alone discounts any evidence they collected. So if I'm going to discount the evidence they collected, is there even any evidence against her? Even with what they collected, even if I don't discount it, I'm still not at guilty. I might think a little bit harder about the taillights found in the yard, but I'm not even willing to give those any kind of credence based on the way this investigation was conducted. I mean, I'm just, this is so ridiculous. So ridiculous.
I want to talk for a second about the searches in Brian Albert's front lawn that took place on and after January 29th, 2022. As a case officer, Trooper Proctor, you also took control of the taillight pieces that were ultimately claimed to have been found at that location, correct?
Not in all searches.
Which of the pieces that were found were you responsible for taking control of?
The 8th, 11th, and 18th.
So who had control over the items that were found before the 8th? You said the 8th, 11th, and 18th, right?
Those are items that I found on those days and that I had processed and essentially bagged and tagged them and handed them over to our evidence officer. There was multiple days that troopers were out there looking for more evidence.
So there would be a log of that too, right?
Again, how the system works as far as the evidence comes in, I can't speak to that.
That's a no.
So you have no idea what the chain of custody of any of these items are, the clothing or the taillight material, from January 29th until March 14th, when the evidence log starts. Is that what you're saying?
Objection.
I'll roll it.
There is a log. I mean, it's in our system where labels are created, and it generates the time and date that a label's created, and then it shows that it's at our office in a secure facility, and then it was brought to the lab on the 14th.
What happens if the label is created and says something like, I don't know, February 4th? What happens to the items before February 4th?
They were stored in a secured facility, a secured room.
Says who? Where's the log?
Objection.
Sustain.
Is there a log of that?
Not to my knowledge.
You were responsible for seizing Miss Reed's car, correct?
Yes,
And you originally claimed that that seizure took place at 5:30 p.m. Is that right?
correct.
You signed numerous affidavits under oath, claiming that you did not seize Miss Reed's vehicle until 5:30 p.m. on January 29, 2022, right?
Correct.
At the time that you seized Miss Reed's vehicle, you were unaware that there was alarm.com surveillance footage of the area from which the car was seized, correct?
Correct.
The fact of the matter is, that was false. The car was not seized at 5:30, was it?
4:16 p.m.
Right. An hour and change, an hour and 18 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes earlier. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you ever seek to change or amend the error, the false statement about the time
So
or received and seized in any of those documents that you filed under oath?
when I incorrectly transcribed the times, it was on the first affidavit I had written. And then as I continued to write other search warrants, I used that as a template. So I never caught it on the first one. And that's the reason those times are off on the other affidavit I wrote.
So the first one was false, and then every single one after that was false too.
There was just an incorrect transcription of time.
An incorrect transcription of the time. You
Yes.
call that, I don't know, a Scrivener's error?
Objection.
Ask it differently.
Sure. Was it a typo?
Yes.
It was a typo. So you got the 4 wrong, you got the 1 wrong, and you got the 6 wrong. And those turned into 5 and 3 and 0, right?
They were typos, sir.
Okay. Fact of the matter is, you delivered that car to Canton PD to the Sallyport garage before a single piece of taillight material was ever found in this case. Trooper Proctor, is that correct?
Correct. It arrives at 5:31.
And you also towed it to the Canton Police Department because that was conveniently close to the location at 34 Fairview, to the crime scene, right?
That was not my decision.
Whose decision was it?
I don't recall. I know that
Well, you're the case officer.
I wouldn't.
Who decides?
It wasn't my decision. I did not make that call, sir.
So who are we pointing the finger at? Was it Sergeant Buchanan?
Objection.
Ask it differently, Mr.
Sure.
Jackson.
Was it Sergeant Buchanan who made that decision to transport it to Canton?
It's a supervisor's decision. I don't know who it came from.
Was it Lieutenant Tully?
Again, I don't know who it came from.
So you were just following orders.
Yes.
You are aware that Massachusetts State Police, your agency, actually has not one, but two barracks, one in Middleborough, one in Foxborough, that are both closer as crow flies than the Canton PD Sallyport, from where the car was towed, correct?
Yes.
Both of those facilities were passed by, and the car was ultimately placed at Canton PD Sallyport at 5:31 or so, right?
Yes.
And you're aware that that Sallyport is about 3 minutes from 34 Fairview?
Yes.
And I'm just holding on.
Yes.
Trooper Proctor, you were the lead case officer on this case. That means that you were required to collect and maintain all the videos that were pulled in connection with this investigation, correct?
Correct.
And you obviously are aware of your legal obligation to turn over any and all exculpatory information that you might come in possession of, correct?
Objection.
That's sustained.
You did pull a lot of video in connection with this case, did you not?
Yes.
About 290 videos from the Ring camera located in the driveway at One Meadows. Does that sound about right? I don't expect you to have counted every single one, but just under 300.
Correct.
A ton of them, right?
Yes.
Another 140 videos or so from the front door Ring camera of that same location, One Meadows, right?
Yes.
9 videos from the Waterfall Bar and Grill.
Yes.
8 videos from the Temple Beth
Yes.
facility. 5 videos from CF McCarthy's.
Yes.
4 dash cam videos.
Correct.
2 videos from Canton Town Library.
Correct.
2 videos from Cassie's Corner Store, right? 2 videos from the cars test on Miss Reed's vehicle. Is that right?
Yes.
And 2 videos from the location at 34 Fairview where individuals were using leaf blowers.
Correct.
All of those, I did some rough math, 360 odd videos were handed over to the defense in or about June of 2022. Is that your understanding?
Objection.
That's sustained.
They were provided in discovery to the defense ultimately, right?
Okay. Yes.
Does it sound like, I don't expect you to have a date down pat, but spring of 2022, sound about right? Spring, early summer?
Yes.
All right. But there was additional video surveillance footage that you chose to hold back from that discovery, correct?
Objection.
Did you hold back videos?
I did not, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
There's surveillance video from Canton Police Department's Sallyport garage that wasn't turned over, right?
That video was discovered later on and then handed over.
The first time you revealed the existence of that footage was in that separate proceeding in February of 2024. Isn't that right?
Yes.
You were questioned about it and you knew you were under oath at the time, correct?
Correct.
And that's when you disclosed, yes, there is Sallyport footage and I've seen it.
The video I was referencing was the exterior Sallyport camera where you can't make out anything.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. The exterior, you said, exterior outside,
Correct.
meaning the one of the driveway.
Right.
And you say you can't make anything out in that.
There's 2 different ones. There's the main driveway camera and then there's this exterior Sallyport camera.
You were asked about this set of videos at that other hearing, right?
Yes. Some,
And you indicated at the time that there was one grainy video, which sort of mainly black and grainy,
yes.
and another one that showed you and Sergeant Buchanan arriving at Canton PD behind Miss Reed's vehicle on the tow truck. Is that right?
Yes.
You were asked very specifically, are you aware whether there are any cameras in the garage in the Sallyport where Karen Reed's SUV was parked? And your answer was yes, right? In the garage.
Yeah, I don't recall.
Do you recall being asked that question?
No.
I can repeat it if you wish.
Yeah, please.
Question. Are you aware of whether there are any cameras in the garage or Sallyport where Karen Reed's SUV was parked? Answer, yes.
Okay.
And then you answered, have you reviewed the video footage of that garage? Answer, I saw one very grainy video and then another of Sergeant Buchanan and I arriving in the main entrance around 5:30 following the vehicle. Period. You remember that answer?
Yes.
That clearly was an answer to the question, did you see video of the interior of the garage? Right?
Objection.
Sustained. Ask it differently.
Were you answering a question about video inside the garage?
No, I was answering the question about what video I observed, and it was exterior video that I observed.
Although the answer to the question was cameras in the garage or Sallyport. That was the question.
If I was aware of any.
And your answer was yes. And then the next question is, have you reviewed the footage? And your answer was, I saw one very grainy video. And then another, Sergeant Buchanan and I arriving in the main entrance around 5:30 following the vehicle. Right? That was your testimony.
Yeah, those two videos I'm referring to in the exterior of the building.
Question, when did you watch the video from the Sallyport? Answer, I haven't reviewed it, sir, in quite some time, so I can't recall what's on there. End quote. You remember that?
Yes.
So obviously at the time, in February of 2024, you had had that video surveillance, you had had that footage for so long that you couldn't remember exactly what was on it because it had been, quote, quite some time, right?
The exterior Sallyport camera.
Except you weren't asked about the exterior. You were asked, question, when did you watch the video from the Sallyport, right? That was the question.
Well, that was the video we had, so that was how I referenced it. That was the exterior Sallyport video.
Why didn't you say to the person that was questioning you under oath, I don't know anything about video inside the Sallyport. I'm referring to outside the building. Why didn't you say that and clarify it?
I should have clarified it, sir.
Because you'll agree, it sounds a hell of a lot like, an awful lot like, you're talking about what's inside the Sallyport, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
The next question you were asked, why did you review the video of the Sallyport? Answer, we review every video we pull, and we pull a lot of video. End quote. Do you remember that?
I do.
Not one word in that testimony. Not one word says exterior, does it?
No, it does not.
You testified that you had obtained and reviewed the Sallyport garage video so long ago that you literally couldn't even remember what was on it, right?
Correct.
You did know, however, that if you had video at the Sallyport, it would clearly show that Miss Reed's vehicle arrived at 5:30, 5:31. Right? You knew that, correct?
Yes, from the driveway camera.
But you withheld that video out of 360 odd videos that you turned over. You withheld that one and never mentioned it until February of 2024, correct?
Objection.
Is that true?
I'm not aware of that, withholding that.
On April 4th, 2024, it's getting late. On April 4th, 2024, you turned over one video from the interior of the Sallyport garage, correct?
Yes, sir.
The interior, not the exterior, right?
Correct.
And that, remarkably enough, was a grainy video, right?
Yes.
And that video is missing the precise time that that vehicle was delivered to the Sallyport, correct?
Objection.
Was it? I'll allow it.
I don't recall.
It's missing 42 minutes at the beginning, and it jumps from 5:08 p.m. to 5:50 p.m., correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Have you reviewed the video?
Yes.
Did you see that the timestamp jumped from 5:08 to 5:50?
Objection.
Sustained.
Not a house.
I'll see its sidebar if you want.
Okay.
This just goes to the list of so many other things. You know, if it was just one or two things here and there, I could get past it. But there are so many. And this Sallyport is important. They say the reason the time is jumping is because the cameras are motion censored, okay? But between 5:08 and 5:50, we know her SUV arrived at 5:31. So between 5:08 and 5:50, there's nothing. It jumps from 5:08 to 5:50, yet the car arrived at 5:31. That's motion. If the car is not going to set off the motion detectors, then you really need to get new cameras because they're doing absolutely nothing. I mean, but again, if that was the only thing, maybe I could get past it. But the list goes on and on and on of things like this. I just don't, I can't. I can't get past any of this, and I do not believe there's going to be any way for the prosecution to fix all of these things. There's too many.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Thank you. You reviewed the video, the Grady video, correct?
Yes.
And that's from a camera perspective that would show, or that does show, the right rear area of the SUV after it's pulled in, correct?
Yes.
Did you note that the time jumped from 5:08 to about 5:50 at the beginning of the video?
Yeah, I observed a jump in video.
And that was about 42 minutes, correct?
Approximately, yes.
You're aware that there's another video from the interior of that Sally Port as well, correct?
Yes.
And you're also aware that, by the way, did you secure that video, the second one? Let me ask you a predicate question, because it's a little confusing. The second video from the interior of the Sally Port is inverted, correct?
Yes.
You're now aware of that.
I am.
Did you recover that video?
I did not.
Who did?
I believe Detective Lieutenant Tully received that from the Canton Police Chief.
Rafferty?
I believe so.
Who asked for it?
I'm not sure, sir.
Did you make the request?
I did not.
How did you become aware that a request had been made?
I was made aware that the video had essentially existed from the interior Sally Port area.
By whom?
I was probably informed by Detective Lieutenant Tully.
So Lieutenant Tully tells you that a second video exists, correct?
Interior Sally Port cameras, yes.
When did he tell you that?
I don't recall.
Was it weeks ago or years ago?
That was more recent than, maybe months ago, a month ago.
Matter of fact, it was after the trial had already started, mid-April, correct?
I don't recall. I thought it was before.
If it was before, was it weeks before, days before?
I don't recall.
I'm just trying to pin down, like, are we talking about 6 months ago or are we talking about 6 weeks ago?
It wasn't 6 months ago.
Okay, so a few weeks ago, you were told about the second video from Lieutenant Tully, right?
Yes.
Did he tell you he had already seen it?
I'm sure he watched it.
Did he tell you he needed you to go get it?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
No.
Okay, so when was the first time you saw it?
A few weeks ago? Month ago?
What were the circumstances in which you saw that video?
Just reviewing the video
Where?
at my desk.
So you pulled it, pardon me, you had access to the video. It
Yes.
was on your system somehow.
It was on thumb drives and a disk.
You put that in your computer and just decided on your own to watch it, correct?
Yes.
And what did you notice?
One of the SUV being brought into the garage.
You're in the video, right? That's you toward the back of the truck.
Yep, I'm in the video. Some Canton PD members there as well. Tow truck guy drops the vehicle off. He's in the front driver's seat. Exits. Sergeant Mechanic's there. I believe Chief Berkowitz, the retired police chief.
Where was he?
He was kind of like mulling around the area. I feel like he was towards like the back open garage gate there.
The back.
Towards like the rear. Yeah.
Where you were.
Yes.
Was he the person, did you note that there were certain individuals that just seemed to apparate out of nowhere, just appear?
Yes, there was one individual in like the top left corner of the video pushing a broom that kind of just appeared.
And also toward the back of the vehicle, somebody just, while you were at the back of the vehicle, just sort of appeared and walked out of Sally Port, correct?
Yes.
And was that Chief Berkowitz?
Yeah, it looks like him, yes.
Okay. So you and Chief Berkowitz are both toward the rear of the vehicle. He just apparates out of thin air because the video is missing some footage, correct?
It appears that way,
And you're
or it
holding-
skips.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Or it skips. I don't know that system at all. So
Okay. And you're holding what appears to be that same black portfolio that we saw in the hospital.
yes.
So anything else you noticed that was odd about the video? Other than the time skips?
So the timestamp in the bottom was inverse. Was it reversed?
I beg your pardon?
Yeah, the timestamp on the bottom of it was it was backwards.
Was it blue?
So instead of reading left to right, it was right to left.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Was it blue?
believe it was yellow.
I just moved on.
Yes.
So the video you saw at a timestamp that was inverted, correct?
Yes.
about the video itself? Is that inverted?
No, from the video I saw, the way the vehicle was brought in relation to the garage and the doors into the PD, it wasn't reversed or inverted.
It was or was not?
Was not.
So as you saw the video, the portion of the vehicle that purported to be the passenger side was in fact the passenger side, and the vehicle, the side of the vehicle that purported to be the driver's side was in fact the driver's side.
Yes, so I reviewed video yesterday just to rewatch it, and the one that I watched had the correct angle, it wasn't reversed. The car was brought in, tow truck driver gets out. From the driver's side, it wasn't reversed. The only thing reversed on it was like a timestamp on the bottom.
Well, were you watching video that was produced in this trial?
Yes.
So were you aware that the defense presented a piece of evidence?
Objection.
I'll allow
Were you aware that the defense presented a piece of evidence where we inverted the video back to the correct,
No, it's not.
and that timestamp was inverted?
I was not aware of that.
When did you watch that that video?
Just the other day, I was reviewing it.
it. Mr. Jackson, we'll take our luncheon break.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Jackson, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Triple Proctor, before we broke, we were discussing Sally Port video that you watched several weeks ago. I want to make sure I'm clear about this. You indicated that the video that you watched was proper in terms of orientation, but the timestamp on the bottom had been inverted, correct?
Yes, that's the way it appeared.
And you recall that being a yellow chyron underneath.
To the best of
In other words, the font color.
my memory, yes.
Which of the Canton Police Department videos were you responsible for retrieving, if any?
I did not retrieve any of them.
So what I'm trying to ask is, and maybe I'm doing it inartfully, how did those Sally Port videos end up in the possession of the Commonwealth? What was the line of succession?
Detective Lieutenant Tully retrieved the Sallyport videos, I believe.
And do you know from whom he retrieved those Sally Port videos?
I believe it was the chief of police.
Okay, Chief Rafferty specifically gave him whatever videos were provided.
Correct, that's my understanding.
And then he provided those to you for your review.
Yes.
I want to stay on the subject of videos for a second, but shift gears to the Ring video footage. You've already tested.
So the interior video wasn't, I guess, turned over to the prosecution until April 4th of 2024. I'm so confused about this as well. I mean, you got a case coming up. I mean, why 2024? Why was this video not secured fairly quickly after the SUV arrived, knowing that you need to collect and keep all this evidence together? I mean, yes, you may be hoping there's going to be a plea deal and no trial or anything like that, but you don't know that. So why wasn't this evidence secured immediately and put into the evidence locker or wherever they keep evidence? Because Lord knows we don't know, and there's no log. I don't understand this part. I don't understand why. I mean, April 4th of 2024. I don't understand. Why was it that that's when this video was produced? I know nobody can give me the answers, and we can all speculate as to why, because it does appear that it's doctored. Now, whether it's actually doctored or not, who knows? But it has that appearance. And again, there's so many other things that when this appears to have been doctored and then it's not gathered till April 4th of 2024, and then we look at it, we see 42 minutes missing, and during that time, we know the vehicle was brought in because we know it arrived at 5:31. So none of this is making any sense. None of it. So we have to question it. That's why everything looks so suspicious, because there's questions on everything.
I want to stay on the subject of videos for a second, but shift gears to the Ring video footage. You've already testified that there were several hundred Ring videos from One Meadows, from both facing the driveway and the front door camera, correct?
Yes.
As the case officer, you obtained and controlled those Ring videos from One Meadows from the moment that they came into Massachusetts State Police custody until they were handed over to the Commonwealth, correct?
Yes, they were archived.
You drafted the search warrant for the Ring video access records, correct?
I did.
You obtained the warrant returns once those search warrants were executed, correct?
I did.
You took possession of Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone physically, correct?
Yes.
And you had access to Mr. O'Keefe's Ring account in that cell phone. Is that right?
Correct.
You indicated that you reviewed several of the videos on his Ring app on his cell phone. Is that right?
Yes.
So you obviously had not only possession of his cell phone, you had possession of his login account information to get into the app on his cell phone. Is that right?
I don't think we had a password. We had his email account associated with the Ring.
Which means
Yeah.
some
So
way
you-
or another, you could get access to the Ring videos
Correct.
and watch those Ring videos on his app on the phone,
Yes.
which means you had full access to the app. You could keep videos, you could save for later, you could delete videos, you could do anything you wanted to within that app, correct?
Yes, those are the capabilities within that app.
Trooper Proctor, did you delete any of the Ring videos ever from John O'Keefe's phone?
Absolutely not.
Did you delete a video of Miss Reed arriving to One Meadows at approximately 12:41 a.m. on January 29th, 2022?
Absolutely not.
You will agree, Trooper Proctor, that the video of Miss Reed returning home from 34 Fairview at approximately 12:41 a.m. is not there.
Correct.
As the case officer, you're aware that Trooper DeChico also reviewed some or all of those videos, correct?
Yes.
And he did that at your request.
Correct.
He took notes of his review of those videos, correct?
Yes.
And then he provided those notes to you so that you could then memorialize those notes and your notes in a broader report that you then drafted in November of 2022, correct?
From memory serves me, the report I wrote regarding the Ring camera was based off my observations of the videos that I had watched.
But you certainly did have, as you just indicated, you did accumulate his notes and review his notes as well as your own notes, correct?
That's my recollection. I wrote that report off of my notes.
Did you actually, at any point before writing your report, did you note or did you review his notes?
I can't recall.
You asked him, he reviewed the videos at your directions, correct? At
Yes.
your direction, correct?
Yes.
And obviously he would have wanted to provide you whatever insights he had into his review of those videos. Otherwise, what's the point, right?
Correct.
So when you reviewed his notes, did you see that they were on some sticky pads? You remember that?
That sounds about right.
Do you recall exactly, as you sit here, exactly what was on one or more of those sticky pads that you reviewed from Trooper DeChico?
I don't know.
Would it refresh your recollection if you would take a look at a copy of those notes?
Yes.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
May I?
Yes.
If you would mind taking a look at the top or the uppermost top, would it refresh your recollection if you would take a look at a copy of those notes?
Yes.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
May I?
Yes.
If you would mind taking a look at the top or the uppermost top note that's highlighted with a sticky note next to it.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Approach.
Yes.
Trooper Proctor, do you have these notes in mind, specifically the uppermost note?
The 0041?
Correct.
Yes.
You reviewed this previously before you wrote your report, correct?
Yes.
All right. And you note that at 0041, which is a time relative to what DeChico was looking at on the Ring video, he indicated taillights from driveway, parentheses, I think she arrived home, in parentheses, correct?
Correct.
0041 is what? What's that in reference to?
Just after midnight, the approximate time where Miss Reed will be returning from Fairview Road.
It's military time for 12:41 a.m., correct?
Yes.
You wrote a report on November, I'm sorry, I earlier said November, it's actually June 1, 2022, memorializing the times that were of note to you in that ring footage, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall every single entry that you made concerning the events that were of note to you that were reflected in your report?
The majority of them, every single one.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at a copy of your report to determine what all you did and did not note?
Yes, sir.
Fair approach?
Sure. Do you have it with you, Trooper? Do you have your report with you?
What's wrong?
Okay.
I'd ask you to review that report, especially as to page 2 and 3. Can I approach? Yes. Thank you. Trooper, do you have those events in mind?
I do.
Your report is dated June 1st, 2022, correct?
Correct.
And reflected in this report are the bullet points of the times that you found of some note in your review of all of the ring footage from One Meadows, correct?
Yes.
In your report, there is no mention of the footage showing Karen Reed arriving home at 12:41 a.m., correct?
Correct.
And that's notwithstanding the fact that in Trooper DeChico's report, in his handwritten notes, he makes note of an event at 12:41 a.m. indicating, I think she arrived home, correct?
Correct.
So sometime between when Trooper DeChico wrote his notes and when you wrote your report, that video footage vanished, correct?
There's also no date on Trooper DeChico's notes. We have many dates from ring video, so I don't know if he's referencing a different date.
Well, you're aware that the video footage from 12:41 a.m. is gone, correct?
Yes, it's something I've tried to find through ring for months, as well as the video when Miss Roberts, Miss McCabe, Miss Reed arrived back at John's and they're looking at the broken tail light. That video is gone as well.
So at some point, while this footage was in Massachusetts State Police custody and being reviewed by Trooper DeChico, that video existed.
Objection.
The objection is sustained. Mr. Jackson, don't waive that again, okay?
Yes, Your Honor. The fact is, notwithstanding Trooper DeChico's handwritten notes, there's no video of 12:41 in January 29th, is there?
No, there isn't.
I find this part really interesting because they have really insinuated that Karen Reed deleted ring video. Now, I didn't get to hear the children's testimony because I wasn't in the courtroom, and of course, they did not show that testimony. I have seen reports where the son testified that Miss Reed did not have access to the ring account. Now, I don't know how much to weigh in on that because a lot of times children don't know what people have access to and don't have access to. They may think they do when they don't. That doesn't hold a whole lot of weight for me, but I do find this part interesting because if Trooper DeChico made a handwritten note, and he even talks about the headlights, that it appears she got home at 0041. Actually, it may have even said taillights. So did he actually see that video? And where did that video go? And if it has been deleted, it would have had to have been deleted once John O'Keefe's phone was in their custody. And, I've actually heard a couple of people from the guilty side say that this is one of the reasons they think she is guilty because she deleted the ring video of her returning and then the next morning of them looking at her broken taillight. If that video is still on there, once it was in police custody, how did she delete it? Now, we know she went back to the house after she left the hospital to pick up her car. We know she went inside. We know she went upstairs and got a few things. Would she have really taken the time with people in the house to have gone and gotten on a laptop to delete that? Because it seems like if she was going to delete any Ring video, she would have done that the night before. Like once she got home, she would have went in there and deleted the 12:41 a.m. video. Now, of course, the next morning's video wouldn't be there, but I don't know. None of this it's not adding up. And that is part of the problem with this entire case. It's not adding up because now I don't believe she deleted any Ring video. And by all appearances, it was deleted because it was there. And if she didn't do it, then it had to have been done while it was in police custody. It could have been done from John's phone. I hate making those kind of accusations, and it's basically just assumptions right now. We don't know 100%. That is how it appears, and let's face it, appearances matter. So anyway, I found this part really interesting because, like I said, this is one of the factors that the She's Guilty crew brings up all the time, that she deleted the video. But this really calls into question of whether she deleted the video or not. Again, reasonable doubt. There is doubt, and it is pretty reasonable. So it's just one more on the list of many things.
Trooper Proctor, would you agree that from the very beginning of your investigation, you treated Karen Reed very differently than you treated the Alberts and the McCabe's in this case?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Was she treated differently?
Absolutely not. Like I've said before, we follow the facts and the evidence, an open mind.
Did you consider her to be, for want of a better phrase, an outsider?
No, not at all.
Not somebody from Canton?
No, not at all.
Not family, not friends with the Alberts?
Absolutely not.
At some point, your view of this case caused you to turn what could be described as bias into an out-and-out hatred. Would you agree with that?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you develop some sort of hatred for Ms. Reed at
Objection.
any point in your investigation?
I'll allow it.
Again, we follow the facts and the evidence which showed Miss Reed hit Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle. And yes, at times I got emotional because of that. And I said some stuff, texted some things I shouldn't have, but it was based off the evidence.
As a matter of fact, you did express your feelings about Ms. Reed in yet another text message that we haven't gone over today. Is that right? On February 4th, 2022? Might as well turn to tab 10.
Tab 10?
It's either the bait stamp or the,
This is triple F, this is Foxtrot. And base stamp is 2526.
Yes, sir.
You see an entry from Courtney Proctor, a text starting, "I didn't give my."
Yes.
Request permission to publish on
yes.
2526, Mr. Bates. On that date, February 4th, 2022, your sister texted in relation to some sort of donation that she had given. "I didn't give my name as I didn't want anyone to link me to Michael," meaning you, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Okay, take that down.
You see the text from Courtney Proctor, "I did not give my name as I didn't want anyone to link me."
So that's stricken. That's what was objected to, just this one, or the whole page goes in.
You responded to a text message from your sister, correct? And your response was, "Hopefully she kills herself," correct?
Yes.
Who's she?
The defendant.
Miss Reed?
Correct.
You literally said that you hope that Karen Reed, the subject of your investigation, the woman sitting to my left, about 7 feet from me, that she would just die, correct?
The figure of speech.
You wanted her, the figure of speech is you wanted her to kill herself,
No.
right?
No, it's not.
Trooper Proctor, Karen Reed, in your investigation, had quickly become a very serious problem for you, hadn't she?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you believe that Karen Reed was a problem or an issue for your investigation?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No, absolutely not.
In your words, quote, "All the powers that be want answers ASAP." That's what you texted on January 29th, right?
Yes.
That put a lot of pressure on you, didn't it, Trooper Proctor?
There's a lot of pressure in every case, sir.
This case involves a Boston cop whose family you were actually connected to, correct?
Loosely.
Chris Albert, loosely.
Yes.
Julie Albert, loosely.
Yes.
Colin Albert, loosely.
Yes.
Kevin Albert, loosely.
Yes.
Loose enough to leave his badge and his gun in your cruiser when after a night of drinking, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
You agreed in your group chat that you needed to, quote, make this cut and dry because another cop was involved. Those are your words, right?
Objection.
Where is this?
This was referred to in earlier text messages, group chats.
So is that right? Did you say that, sir?
I did text that. I don't know if it's in the exact context. But yes, those were my words.
Group chat.
Yes, that was in the group chat.
Your friends wrote this whole thing in their words, stinks, correct?
Yes, I interpret that as a joke.
You believed, Trooper Proctor, that your life would be much easier if Karen Reed was just dead, didn't you?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No. Like I said, it was a figure of speech. My emotions got the best of me based on, the fact that Miss Reed hit Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle and left him to die on the side of the road. So my emotions got the best of me with that figure of speech.
Well, let's talk about your figures of speech.
I'm sorry, that is not a figure of speech.
During the course of your investigation, your figures of speech include the following. She's a bitch.
Objection.
Is that right?
Yes.
A whack job, correct?
Yes.
A retard, right?
Yes.
Her balloon knot leaks, right?
Yes.
No ass, correct?
Yes.
She's fucked, according to you, right?
Yes.
Ass leaker. That was the word you used, a figure of speech, right?
Correct.
A girl who shits herself, right?
Correct.
And then fuck her, correct?
Correct.
Would you agree, Trooper Proctor, that you have dehumanized Karen Reed during the course of your investigation with comments and words like this?
Objection.
I'll give you this one, Mr. Jackson.
Would you agree with that?
I would say based off that language, yes.
And you admitted, in your own words, that the cop homeowner wasn't going to, quote, catch any shit, right?
Correct.
Because you were out to quote, make this cut and dry. Isn't that right?
The homeowner wasn't going to catch any shit because Mr. Elba had nothing to do with Mr. O'Keefe's death.
Because you were going to make sure that the case was cut and dry. Those were your words, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
And Trooper Proctor, it would be far easier for you to pin it on the girl who's just a whack job cunt, in your words, who you hope just kills herself, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
Shame on you, sir.
Objection.
All right. So jurors, disregard that. I've told you before, lawyers can't make comments. They can ask questions. And Mr. Jackson, you know better than
I
that.
understand. That's all I have.
Mr. Lally?
Mr. Jackson did not care at that point. He said what, well, no, he didn't exactly say what we were all thinking, because I promise you I was thinking a lot worse than just shame on you, sir. But he said what he could get away with in court. Yes, it was objected to and stricken from the record, but the jury heard it, and he is correct in that. Shame on you, Proctor. That is beyond inappropriate. And you want me to believe that you were unbiased in this investigation. Nope, I don't believe it. And I don't think the majority of the people watching this trial and the jury believe it. We heard your words to friends, co-workers, your wife. We heard his words during the time of the investigation. They go to show his frame of mind, where he was at. It was her, no one else. When I started this video series, I told you that I believe this trial just got bigger. And maybe just got bigger isn't completely accurate, because I think it's been building on it. Being able to get a glimpse into his frame of mind, where he was at during this investigation within just 16 hours, that his mind was made up. It was her, based on 3 witnesses, actually 4, because it was both of the McCabe's, Brian Alberts and Carrie Roberts. Carrie Roberts, who wasn't even at the party, she was just a witness from the morning and was a witness to Carrie's erratic behavior that morning. Well, I really don't like it when people judge people by how they act in certain situations. We are all built differently. I mean, just look at your friend group. We all have friend groups. Everybody in my friend group reacts differently. There's always the level-headed one. There's always the not so level-headed one. some are more emotional than others. I mean, it's so hard to judge how somebody's reacting during a stressful situation. Again, I don't know if Karen Reed did this or not. What I do know is that the integrity of this investigation was shot, and it looks as if it was shot on day one. And so I can't find her guilty. There is so much reasonable doubt throughout here. And I know there's still trial left. And I am trying to keep an open mind, but there is so much reasonable doubt built in here that short of a video actually showing her do it, I don't think I could go with guilty. And to be honest with you, even with the video showing she did it, I still don't know that I could go with guilty, because there are so many questions about this investigation that go against the integrity of our criminal justice system. And for that reason, I could not go with guilty. We can't allow people to be found guilty with this many holes in a case, with the lack of investigation, with the questions about all of the evidence, not just some of it, but all of it. There is no chain of custody. I don't think there's anything that could change my mind about it at this point. And I honestly hate that, because when I'm watching a trial, I'm always open-minded. And in most cases, I'm having to be open-minded about them being not guilty, because when you're listening to the prosecution side, they usually have so much evidence pointing to their guilt that I have to remember the defense hasn't presented their case yet. And this case is just opposite. I've had to keep an open mind about her guilt. If I'm having to do that, that alone is reasonable doubt, because it is the prosecution's job to prove she's guilty. It's not the defense's job to prove she's innocent. She does not have to prove she's innocent. They have to prove she's guilty, and they haven't done that. So I'm going to conclude this. So those are my thoughts after listening to all of Trooper Proctor's testimony and all of his text messages. Let me know what you think. Am I wrong? Because I have been wrong before. I could be again. You may not change my mind, but you could point something out that maybe I haven't thought about. I just hope this trial is an example of how not to conduct an investigation. We have to demand more, demand better. So thank you for listening, and be sure to like and subscribe, because I'm sure I'm going to do some other updates throughout this trial and dig into some other cases. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.